Here's the thing about true crime. It's a constant reminder that life is unpredictable. We can't control everything that happens to us, but we can control how prepared we are and how protected the people we love will be if something does happen. With more than 400,000 satisfied customers and celebrating 5 years in business this month, the Knockbox is a complete system that will help you organize everything in your life, from your accounts to your spare keys to your estate plans. With a Knockbox, your loved ones won't have to search through drawers or struggle to access online accounts during an already difficult time. Each folder inside of your Knockbox includes a checklist that tells you what to add to the folder and tells your next of kin what to do with the information. You can't get more comprehensive than a Knockbox. Get the gold standard in organizational systems and make life easier for your next of kin. Go to theknockbox.com and use code TCAT today to save 16% on the Knockbox of your choosing. That's the knockbox.com, code TCATT at checkout to save 16%.
As a small business owner, sometimes it feels like no matter how much planning you do, there's always surprises, like an urgent, expensive repair. But here's a surprise you will like. With Progressive, small business owners save 13% on their commercial auto insurance when they pay in full. So enjoy a surprise for once. Get a quote in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 504 of the True Crime All the Time podcast. I'm Mike Ferguson, and with me, as always, is my partner in true crime, Mike Gibson. Gibby, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing great. You and I are just getting back into the swing of things after coming back from CrimeCon in Vegas. You know, it was great.
It was.
We had our meetup. We got to meet new fans, see old, fans that have been with us a long time. It was a lot of fun. It's also very expensive in Las Vegas.
It is. Hopefully I'll get my shirt back somehow from there.
You lost your shirt?
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and give our Patreon shout outs. We had Richard Ramirez jump out to our highest level.
Well, that's a very interesting last name, Ramirez, with the first name Richard.
I was going to say, I think Ramirez is pretty common.
Yeah, the combo, though.
The combo is what strikes it. Patrick Erickson also jumped out at our highest level.
What's going on, Patrick?
We had Kacie Vanu.
Hey, Vanu.
Jackie Hansen.
Well, thanks, Jackie.
And last but not least, Charles Thompson.
Thank you so much, Charles.
And you'll hear from Charles later on, not directly, but he also sent us a big package from Scotland.
Really? And do you know, Charles, he's in charge.
Yeah, of our days and our nights.
Always got to updo me, don't you?
Updo you or outdo you?
However you want to say.
All right, and then if we go back into the vault. This week we selected Rebecca.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Yeah, we appreciate all the Patreon support we got. And we did talk a lot more about CrimeCon on Patreon. So if you're a Patreon supporter, go over there and check it out. If you're not, now's a great time to sign up. We have a brand new episode out on Unsolved right now where we're talking about actress Barbara Colby. She was murdered in 1975. Shortly after she got a big break in her career, it was a major role in a new sitcom. So we go through all the particulars of that case. And then on Thursday's TCAT, we're talking about Aaron Goodwin, best known for his role as cameraman, ghost hunter, on the popular show Ghost Adventures. In 2024, his wife Victoria began plotting to kill him with Florida inmate Grant Amato, who we covered on TCAT.
Yeah, that's a very interesting case.
It is. So that'll be out Thursday. All right, buddy, are you ready to get into this episode of True Crime All the Time?
I am ready.
We're talking about Kacie Woody. In December 2002, 13-year-old Kacie Woody was stalked, abducted, and murdered by a 47-year-old man she met online who had been posing as a teenager in chat rooms. Such a scary thing.
It is.
Kacie Woody was born on October 17th, 1989. Her parents were Rick Woody and Christy Woody. Kacie has two older brothers, Tim and Austin. And speaking of people posing as teenagers online to meet underage people, Chris Hansen was in the booth like just a few down from us.
Yeah.
So, To Catch a Predator is going to come to mind in this episode, no doubt. Since 1984, the family had lived in Holland, Arkansas, a tiny community in rural Faulkner County. The area appealed to Christy and Rick because it was quiet and safe. And that's what a lot of families look at when they start to have kids. Okay, where's the best place to raise our kids?
Yeah, you want a nice community, safe community.
Good school system, things like that. Kacie attended school in nearby Greenbrier. On June 19th, 1997, Rick, Christy, Tim, and Kacie were on their way home from Tim's baseball game when two horses ran onto the road. In front of them, Rick hit one of the horses, which slammed through the windshield on the passenger side, killing Christy.
Oh, man. I mean, you don't hear things like that around here, right? We don't have horses getting loose. We have deer.
We do have a lot of deer, which cause accidents. We have a lot of horses. I have just not heard of a scenario like this around here. Not to say it couldn't happen, but how tragic. And Kacie was just 7 years old when her mother died. From then on, she hated horses. And how could you not?
Yeah. Heartbreak.
Because Kacie grew up without her mom, she assumed a lot of responsibility at a young age. She did her own laundry, cooked dinner for herself, and did her homework without being told.
Things that you never have done even to this date.
Oh, and I certainly never did my homework.
Well, you all know that.
Whether I was told or not.
I'm still correcting you on things.
In June 2001, Rick Woody went on part-time patrol for the Greenbrier Police Department. He had been working as a dispatcher, but he wanted to be on the streets. He was assigned to the night shift. Normally, Kacie's older brother, Tim, was home at night. On weekends, she went to her grandmother's house. There were some evenings when Kacie was home alone for several hours, but Rick believed she was safe. Kacie didn't seem to mind being home alone. They had lived in the same area for 18 years with no issues, and it was said they even often left their door unlocked.
I mean, there's communities like that. I mean, I kind of live in a community like that now that I'm not concerned. I feel like I could leave my door unlocked and not have to worry about it. But you know me, I lock it down and all that.
I mean, partly because you have nothing of value that anyone would want to steal. So now they might want to do you harm for a myriad of reasons.
Well, that's why I lock it down when I'm in it.
But it's certainly not going to be because you have a treasure trove of very expensive items, as cheap as you are.
No, those are all buried.
At the time of her death, Kacie was a student at Greenbrier Middle School and participated in band and choir. She was also in her school's Gifted and Talented program. Kacie was said to be quiet around people she didn't know, but she loved to perform for friends and family. She was described as a model child and had deep empathy for others. She was also more trusting than her peers because she had never had a bad experience with anyone before. Jessica Bradford, one of Kacie's best friends, told THV11 her personality was outgoing and caring. Nobody was a stranger to her.
When you don't know any better, right? Because she's never experienced it, so you're going to be like that.
Yeah, I mean, if you grow up kind of in a rough environment, or let's say you grow up on the streets, you are going to be a lot more wary of things than, if you grow up in middle America, You're very sheltered. You've never had a bad experience. I could see that happening. Kacie liked spending time with her friends and listening to bands like NSYNC. She was also interested in the internet. She and her friends used online chat rooms to message other teens. And Kacie lived so far out in the country that phone calls to Greenbrier, which was 12 miles north, were long distance. Rick had strict rules about using the phone, so Kacie mostly used instant messaging to talk to her friends. She preferred instant messaging over email because she could have conversations in real time. Her username was Model Behavior 63. Model Behavior was one of her favorite Disney movies. 63 was her brother's football jersey.
And I remember growing up back in the day when you had just the town over was long distance. Literally would drive me crazy because you're thinking it's not that far. How can it be long distance? But if you called, wanted to talk to a girl over there, you called and, your parents would be like, why did you make this long distance phone call, 20 times this month and talk for an hour or two,
Well, and you can't tell the truth, right? It's because, mom, dad,
Exactly.
Come on now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to do here. But there was also, if you remember, peak hours.
There was.
Like if you called after a certain time, it would be cheaper. I mean, just things that we don't even think about today because, first of all, you just pick up your cell phone and call. You don't worry about where it is. You don't worry about what time it is. It's unlimited, baby.
I remember one time I was dating this girl. I don't know, a sophomore or something in high school, long distance. I called her at nighttime and we were talking and, no, you say goodbye. No, you say goodbye, back and forth.
Sure.
And then she said, well, just fall asleep with me. And I remember, okay. And then I remember when the bill came, my dad about lit me up.
I'm surprised he didn't actually with
Well,
the
he
Mattel racetrack.
He probably did light me up, but he was like, why is there it was something like 7 hours or something. What the heck did you have to talk about? And I'm like, well, we did. We fell asleep. And that just made it worse.
Oh, that's not going to go over.
Yeah.
In May 2002, Kacie met a boy named Scott online. Scott was 14 years old at the time and lived in a suburb of Atlanta. He liked football and wrestling. Kacie and Scott talked and flirted for several months before they became official on October 3rd, 2002. By the fall of 2002, Kacie was a regular in Yahoo's teen and Christian chat rooms. That summer, she met a guy named Dave in a Yahoo chat room. In his profile, Dave indicated that he was an 18-year-old from San Diego. His picture showed a young man with wavy hair. So, the two became friends. They messaged each other regularly. Kacie introduced Dave to others in her online friend group. They bonded over their love of music. Dave played guitar, and Kacie sang and played the saxophone. Kacie set up three-way phone calls between herself, Dave, and her real-life friends, and even sent Dave photos of some of her friends. She briefly considered Dave her boyfriend, but in early autumn, she became interested in a local boy. She broke up with that boy for Scott. According to the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, Kacie and Dave's friendship was full of romantic overtones. Even after Scott became her boyfriend, Kacie had introduced Scott to Dave. They had even talked on the phone before. The first time Dave called, Scott's mother answered and asked why someone was calling from California. Scott took the phone from her and said it was a friend of a friend. The second time, Scott's dad answered the phone. He was angry when he heard Dave's voice and declared that he wasn't a kid and ordered him not to call again.
Yeah, some people just can't be fooled.
Yeah. Some people pick up on things that, maybe a 14, 15-year-old just wouldn't pick up on.
Yeah.
Kacie's real-life friends were concerned over how trusting she was of strangers she met online. Her friend Samantha had never liked Dave, and she thought Scott's romantic messages were excessive. Another friend had similar feelings about Scott. Kacie once emailed him an excerpt of a message from Scott, and he asked how long she had known him and if she believed all the things he was saying. Rick Woody was also concerned when Kacie told him her online friend was celebrating his 18th birthday. He told her 18 was too old and ordered Kacie to stop talking to him.
Hey, we both have daughters. We've been down that road. We know how we feel about them dating somebody too old.
Yeah, but we also know and have experienced what happens when you try to order your daughter not to talk to somebody, not to, see somebody. I mean, most of the time, Gibbs, what does it do? It just makes them want to do it that much more.
Yeah, it backfires on you.
It can, for sure. Kacie messaged Dave and told him that her dad said they couldn't talk anymore. Around that time, Dave started calling Kacie frequently to talk to her about his aunt, who was in a coma after a car accident and wasn't expected to live more than a few months. Kacie felt bad for him. And I mentioned it, right? Her friend said, she was a very empathetic person. So, of course, she's going to feel bad for Dave because he's telling her this story about his aunt who's in a coma and not expected to live long. Kacie would occasionally call Dave, but would hang up quickly. These phone calls made Kacie's friend Samantha uncomfortable. She agreed that Dave didn't sound like an 18-year-old and noted that he used outdated slang like groovy.
Oh, yeah.
Groovy in the early 2000s? I mean, not even you and I were doing that.
No, that's not groovy to use groovy at that time. I don't even know if it used to be also chill, and now it went from chill to sick. But I don't even think sick is the thing now. I think it's something different.
I still think you're decades behind.
I probably am. There, at CrimeCon, there was a girl that came up that was talking, and she liked something that was being said, and she started using her index finger and her thumb and, basically clapping them together multiple times. And I guess that means that's good.
Okay.
Applauding, but it was just so weird to see somebody do that, you know.
I'm not going to start that. So.
Yeah.
You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you might not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
Ever notice how life's best stories don't happen in your living room? They happen on the open road, out on the water, or parked under the stars. At Progressive, they get that you want to focus on the experience, not worry about the what-ifs. That's why they offer quality insurance designed for your ride, whether that's a boat, RV, or motorcycle. Adventure with confidence. Visit Progressive.com and see how easy it is to protect your favorite way to get away. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in D.C. Prices vary based on how you buy.
On 2 occasions, Kacie set up 3-way phone calls so she could talk to Dave and Samantha at the same time. Dave also talked to Kacie's friend Jessica. One weekend in November 2002, Jessica was spending the night at Kacie's house. Kacie was on the phone with Dave and handed it over to Jessica. During the conversation, the girls heard noises outside that sounded like someone walking around the back of the house. They moved a dresser in front of Kacie's bedroom door. Minutes later, they thought they heard the kitchen floor squeak. Kacie told Dave she was afraid someone was in the house. He responded, "Oh, there's nobody in your house. You're just imagining things." And the noises stopped after that. During that same conversation, Dave told Kacie he was going to Arkansas because his aunt was deteriorating. He planned to stay in Arkansas until she died. However, he didn't ask or suggest that he wanted to see her in person. The girls tried to end the conversation several times, but Dave said he had been driving for hours and needed company. On December 3rd, 2000, Kacie went to school as normal. That morning, she was having a disagreement with her friend Samantha, and we talked about it, right? Samantha couldn't understand Kacie's fascination with these boys that she had met online. She worried about how freely Kacie was giving out her phone number. Samantha had told Kacie, you can't be in love with someone from the internet.
Well, back then, no, but a lot of things have changed over the time, and people fall in love over the internet all the time now. But I get it. I know what she's saying. Like, you haven't even met this person. You don't know anything about them besides what they want you to think about them.
Well, and not to mention her age, right? She is a pretty young girl at this point. Yeah, you're right. A lot of people are meeting their soulmates, people they end up marrying over the internet. It's a big deal. But the internet has changed a lot in the last 25 years.
Oh, for sure. I mean, there's still catfishing going on all the time, and probably always will be.
But there are many ways, where you don't have to give out all your information. You don't have to give out your phone number. You could do a Zoom call.
Yeah.
Or something like that, and still keep a lot of your information private. The day before, Samantha made a comment about a photo of Scott that Kacie kept in her locker. Samantha said he was hot, but Kacie thought she said fat. Oh, man, you talk about two girls getting into a fight.
Oh, yeah.
Over a misunderstanding of words. Been there, done that. Seen my daughters do it a number of times. By the next morning, the girls' mutual friends had taken sides in the disagreement, and Samantha decided to get an adult involved. She took a friend with her to talk to school counselor Diana Keller. Mrs. Keller listened to Samantha and then called Kacie to her office so the girls could talk alone. When she re-entered the office, the girls had patched things up.
Girls do that, They can hate each other one day and be best friends again the next day.
Yeah, my wife can go from 0 to 60 in no time, but then also, come back down very quickly.
Yeah.
And be de-escalated. I, on the other hand, have a hard time de-escalating quickly.
Yeah, you harbor things for a little while.
For years sometimes. Decades.
Do you hold a grudge?
In some instances.
Yes, you are a grudge holder.
I am. Samantha was worried that Kacie would soon be angry because she had told Miss Keller that Kacie was giving out her phone number online, and Mrs. Keller promised to talk to Kacie about it. She asked Kacie about it, and Kacie reassured her that she only gave her number to people approved by her dad. But Samantha knew this was a lie.
Yeah.
And I said it, right? Her dad wasn't happy with her talking to these guys, especially some of these that were 18 or about to turn 18. Later that day, Mrs. Keller called Kacie back to her office and warned her about online dangers, but Kacie just didn't seem to have any fear. Samantha and Kacie met after school. Kacie was her usual happy self, but she made a suggestion that later caused her friends to question if she sensed something was going to happen. Kacie asked if she could sleep over at Samantha's house. Samantha said no because she knew her mom would not allow a school night sleepover. Kacie also asked her friend Jessica. Jessica also said no. Kacie asked a third friend, but she received the same answer.
It's a bummer when you ask a friend if you can spend the night and they say no. I mean, I used to do that here at least 5, 7, maybe 12 times a year. And you're like, Shannon won't let you. Shannon won't let you.
No.
Yeah.
First of all, there's no reason. You have your own place. Yeah. And it just seems as though you're trying to set something up that could go south in a hurry. And then I have to sleep on the couch with a weapon just to keep an eye on you.
At least keep one eye open and keep your head on a swivel.
Exactly. But I also like to sleep, and I'd rather not stay up all night. Kacie never explained why she wanted to spend the night with a friend. She didn't seem upset by her friend's rejection. She laughed and headed to the bus stop, telling her friends goodbye before she boarded. That evening, Kacie's dad, Rick, was on patrol in Greenbrier. He had a sinus infection and had almost called in sick. His chief told him to take it easy, and Rick thought he could make it through his shift, which ended at 2 a.m. He kept his phone with him so he could check on Kacie, but he wasn't worried. Kacie's 19-year-old brother, Tim, was still living at home. His friend, Eric Betts, also 19, was temporarily living with them. If they weren't around, Kacie had her aunt, who lived on the same street.
Well, it sounds like a safe place to be, right? I mean, two adult boys, not boys, really young men, 19 each of them. And like he said, the aunt was just down the street, and this is supposed to be a safe town.
But here's the thing. At 6 p.m., Tim left to go to the University of Central Arkansas Library. Eric also had an evening class. And then Kacie's aunt was at her daughter's basketball game. So Kacie was truly alone that night. That evening, she checked the weather, hopeful for a snow day. She got ready for bed and then got on the computer to message Scott. Kacie told Scott that she was one of the few students chosen to sing in front of the school board. Scott congratulated her. While she was messaging Scott, Kacie was on the phone with Dave, who was giving her an update on his aunt. He said she was expected to pass shortly. And it was said that Kacie kept Scott informed of her conversation with Dave. She also mentioned her visit to the counselor's office. And the Arkansas Democrat Gazette published excerpts of their conversation. Kacie said, "So guess what? I got a lecture." Scott, I'm sorry, baby. Kacie, on how you could be an 80-year-old rapist. LOL. Scott said, LOL. Kacie, he, and that the picture was your grandson. Scott wrote back, "How many times have you gotten that one?" She said, I lost count. Well, then she's like, "Do your parents know you talk to people you don't know?" I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Well, be careful and don't agree to meet them unless your mom and dad is with you." I was like, "Okay." And she's like, "Well, remember this little talk." I was like, "Okay." Scott said, "Uh-oh, probably means she's going to talk to you again." Kacie said, "I know." What Kacie didn't know was that while she was messaging Scott, a man was outside of her house watching her. Scott continued messaging Kacie, but she abruptly stopped responding. Scott wrote, I'll always be with you, my angel, because you're all I want to be with. I put my screensaver as the picture I have in my locker. You're the most beautiful angel in the world, Kacie. Are you okay, sweetie?" So these are a series of messages, right, that he sent with no response. Kacie finally responded at 9:41 p.m. writing Yah, Y-A-H, which was uncharacteristically brief of her.
Yeah, it seems strange for somebody that was communicating the way she was up to that point.
Yeah, pretty talkative, Investigators believe that the intruder snuck into the house and caught Kacie off guard while she was messaging Scott. He covered her face with a chloroform-soaked rag and dragged her through the house into his vehicle. Her glasses were knocked off during the struggle. And here's Scott, right, on the other end. His messages became increasingly worried. "Are you busy? He, guess so. You there, baby? Sweetie, are you okay? Please talk to me. When you are ready to talk, sweetie, I'll be here. Are you mad at me, sweetie?" So it's just, a lot of messages one after the other. Yeah. He's not getting any response, and it sounds like he's getting a little worried. And really, for the next 35 minutes, he continued to frantically message her. And then at 10:15 p.m., Scott called Kacie's house. When Kacie didn't answer, he messaged her, "Why isn't anyone answering the phone?" Scott also emailed Kacie's friend, Jessica. He said, "Jessica, please let this be something is wrong with Kacie. Her messenger is still on, and all of a sudden she left during our convo, but didn't log off, and I tried to call her and no one answered. And we weren't fighting or anything, so I emailed the cops to make sure she's all right. I hope they get it soon. I'm going crazy. I don't know what I would do without her. Please, God, let her be okay." But Jessica didn't see this email until the following afternoon. Eric Betts returned home from class at 10:17 p.m. He assumed Kacie was already in bed. He watched TV and did his laundry for the next hour. At 11:30 p.m., during one of his trips to the laundry room, he noticed Kacie wasn't in her room and assumed she was out with friends or family. Tim came home a few minutes later. Eric asked where Kacie went. Tim said he thought she was home. Tim called his father at 11:40 p.m. Rick said Kacie was supposed to be home. He last spoke to her at 7 p.m. He knew something was wrong and told Tim to start calling Kacie's friends and checking with their aunt down the street.
As a parent, this is where my anxiety would kick in.
Yeah, I think it did for him as well. We talk about mom's intuition a lot. Well, dad's got some too. He's also a police officer.
Right.
So he's probably looking at it from, maybe that angle as well. Rick drove back to the police department to check in. No one knew anything about Kacie. He contacted the sheriff's office and then headed home. When he arrived, he saw that both of Kacie's coats were inside and her tennis shoes and boots were still by the computer. The temperature was in the 30s and it was raining that night. If Kacie was going somewhere, she would definitely need her shoes and a coat.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense for her to leave without those items.
A deputy arrived at the house at 12:24 a.m. Meanwhile, Rick, Tim, and Eric were calling Kacie's friends, trying to see if she had left to meet them. By this time, Rick had seen a phone call from Georgia on the caller ID placed at 10:15 p.m. They also found the messages between Kacie and Scott on the computer. Kacie's mangled glasses were found under a pile of towels in a recliner. The frames were bent and one lens had popped out. Kacie's beloved dog was also limping.
What a terrible person.
And you mentioned, the anxiety on Rick's part. Okay, I think once you find these things, it's got to go even higher.
Absolutely. Obviously, she needs her glasses, so something has to be going on. And who would hurt a dog?
And how did the dog get hurt? Was the dog trying to defend Kacie against an intruder? I mean, a lot of those things could run through your mind. Tim was the last one to see Kacie when he left the house at 6 p.m. He recalled that she was on the computer with her glasses on, which she always wore when she was online.
Ever wonder who's out there making the world go round? It's truckers. Who unites baristas with coffee beans? Truckers. Who unites dogs with their favorite chew toy? Truckers. That's why Progressive offers truckers even more protection with Cargo Plus coverage to keep truckers moving right along. Quote truck insurance today in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage subject to policy terms, limits, and conditions. Not yet available in California, New York, and Virginia.
For a small business owner, every day is full of surprises. Some great, some not so great. Like when a client cancels their order at the last minute. But here's a surprise you will like. Progressive provides small business owners with 30 customizable coverage options to help keep their business going strong. So go ahead, surprise yourself. Get a quote in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates and third-party insurers. Coverage is not available in all states or for all vehicles and coverage selections.
So, you look at all these facts, right? The fact that Kacie's glasses were damaged, she hadn't taken her shoes or coat, and her messages ended abruptly. That supported investigators' suspicion that she was abducted. Scott eventually fell asleep. 5 hours after his last message, he received a message from Kacie's account. "Hey, Scott, are you there? This is Eric. As soon as you get this, answer back, please. I have got to talk to you." Scott replied and explained that Kacie just went silent in the middle of their conversation. It didn't seem like anything was wrong, and he noted that her last message was sent at 9:41 p.m. She hadn't talked about going anywhere that night. Eric confirmed Scott's real phone number and got his full name, age, and address. Then Eric asked about Kacie's chat with the school counselor and her conversation with Dave. According to Scott, he wrote, her and Sam have been having a fight, and they talked about it with the counselor. Then Sam told the counselor that she was dating me, and she got lectured. Don't worry about Dave. He's just a good friend. I would have said something if I didn't think he was a good guy, but he's cool. He didn't know Dave's last name, only that he lived in San Diego. Volunteers spent the night searching the woods surrounding the house. In the early morning hours, investigators issued a missing persons alert for Kacie. Later that morning, Kacie's friends Samantha and Jessica were called to the guidance counselor's office to talk to the police. Samantha later recalled to THV 11, "I wanted to think that maybe she ran away or something, and that she was going to come back. I never in my mind, my wildest imagination, thought she had been kidnapped, because that just doesn't happen here." And how many times have we talked about it, Gibbs? In a smaller town, a town with relatively low crime, at a certain point in time, a lot of people left their doors unlocked. They couldn't fathom, like some big time serious crime like an abduction or a murder until one happened. And then whatever that was that happened changed the whole community.
Sure does.
Right? People start locking their doors. They buy more guns. They're more fearful for their safety.
Not so friendly to strangers when they come in town.
Yeah. That's just the way it happens. After the interview, Jessica and Samantha compared notes. Initially, Jessica and Samantha felt certain Scott was involved in Kacie's disappearance. But then it occurred to Jessica, what if it was Dave? While the girls were being questioned at school, FBI agent Jerry Spurgers was searching Kacie's bedroom, and he found 2 notes in her trash can. One note read, "Kacie Renee Woody loves David Leslie Fagan." The other note said, "Kacie Renee Woody loves Scott G." The letters were numbered so Kacie could compute the percentage of true love in each relationship.
Things you did back in those days, just like the old, was it a little origami thing or what?
Oh, where you pulled it out and
use your fingers and thumb.
I don't even remember what that was called, but then you flipped something up and you asked a question. People write in.
Do you love me? Blah, blah, blah,
I never did
1,
those.
2, 3,
I didn't know how to make them, but I don't really remember what they were called.
Yeah. You were just the reason they were doing them. Does Mike love me?
Exactly.
Yes or no? Will we get married? Yes or no?
But I think when you look at these notes, it's pretty obvious that she had some feelings for both of these individuals. Yeah. Now, what kind of feelings were there? She didn't really know them. But let's be honest, online, it is possible for you to feel like you do really know someone.
Sure.
Authorities had already established Scott's identity, but they still had no idea who Dave really was. FBI agents found Dave's Yahoo profile with the username Jazzman-DF.
Jazzman.
Almost like jazz hands.
Yes.
He lived in San Diego and had registered with Yahoo under the name Dave Fagan, the same name in Kacie's note. That morning, Kacie's friends Samantha and Jessica asked to talk to the police a second time because they had forgotten to tell the police about Dave during their first interview. They explained that Dave was Kacie's ex-boyfriend, but she still talked to him regularly. He had been telling Kacie that his aunt was dying, Jessica also mentioned the November phone call where Dave said he was coming to Arkansas to see his aunt. Now, he said it, right? Dave never said he wanted to see Kacie, but Samantha and Jessica felt certain that even if he had, Kacie would not have agreed to meet him. The Arkansas State Police got involved and asked the Conway police to canvass motels for suspicious guests. Conway, which is south of Greenbrier, is the biggest city in Faulkner County. Investigators were looking for Dave Fagan, David, anyone with the initials DF, or anyone from California.
They were on a manhunt.
Detectives found a California man named David Fuller, registered at the Motel 6. He arrived on December 2nd and was scheduled to stay for 7 days. He asked housekeeping not to enter his room.
There's a sign.
Is it? Because I don't like housekeeping to enter my room either. And it's not because I have a body in there or something. I just don't want to take the chance that they're going to steal my laptop or, steal my stuff.
So you're like, don't worry about the sheets, towels, I got it.
Well, especially if I'm staying at a Motel 6.
You're probably bringing your own sheets and towels.
After I shine the black light, for sure.
You and your black light.
It's like a Jackson Pollock painting in here.
You're no longer around my vehicle with that either, by the way.
The manager at the hotel told the police Fuller was angry when he couldn't connect to the internet from his room. The manager opened the door to Fuller's room. Inside, police found his suitcase, still packed, and a laptop on a table. The bed had not been slept in. Investigators also discovered that on December 2nd, Dave Fuller rented a silver minivan for 7 days from the Enterprise in Conway. An employee recalled that Fuller was fidgety and repeatedly interrupted the paperwork process to go outside and smoke. The employee made a note of Fuller's California license plate and motel room number. His cell phone number was listed in the paperwork. That afternoon, investigators learned that the number Kacie had been calling was Dave Fuller's cell phone. He officially became the main suspect in Kacie's abduction. A description of Fuller's minivan was sent out to the police and the media. And investigators soon confirmed that Dave was David Leslie Fuller, a 47-year-old married father of 2 from California.
There we have it. Predator.
47 years old, masquerading as a 17 or 18-year-old. I mean, what possible reason could someone have for doing that didn't have some kind of twisted aspect to it?
Right, yeah.
Because I can't think of one.
Nothing but bad intentions.
But here's my thing, right? If you're the investigators, if you are Kacie's dad and you find all this out, I mean, especially her dad, where is your anxiety level at that point?
Through the roof.
Yeah. I don't know that it could get any higher. Investigators subpoenaed the rental car paperwork and they got Fuller's credit card number. His credit history showed that earlier that day, his card was charged by Guard Smart Storage in Conway. He had traveled to Conway a month earlier to rent a unit. Investigators suspected he might be holding Kacie there. The police received a report from a caller who said he was following a minivan that matched the description down University Avenue in Little Rock. Police hoped Fuller was scared and fleeing and had left Kacie alive in the storage unit.
Trying to be positive.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be, right, at this point. A detective and 2 FBI agents arrived at the storage facility just after 5 p.m. They were led to Unit 313. The door was not padlocked and the latch was unfastened. The detective slowly lifted the door. Inside the unit was a silver minivan with the engine still running. And then all of a sudden, a shot rang out. The detective and the agents dove for cover and called for backup. For the next 3 hours, law enforcement waited, unsure if Kacie and Fuller were alive. Just before 8:30 p.m., a SWAT team entered the unit. Dave Fuller was dead. His body was at the back of the storage unit. He had shot himself in the head with a 9mm, which was still in his hand. A few feet away, in the back of the van, was Kacie's body. She was on her back with her wrists and ankles chained to the four corners of the van's floor. Fuller had removed the two back seats to make space for her body. Kacie had been raped and shot in the head. There was a half-empty bottle of chloroform and a purple rag next to her head. And to me, Gibbs, this is heartbreaking, but it's also the worst possible outcome.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is.
Number one, for investigators and especially for the family, you're hoping to find Kacie alive. Well, they don't. Unfortunately, she was murdered, but then the perpetrator takes his own life.
Yeah, because he's afraid to deal with the consequences that were going to come down.
Oh, absolutely, right? He's a chicken shit.
He is a piece of shit, yeah.
I think that's pretty evident. But what it does is then it doesn't allow for, them to interrogate him, find out all the reasons why and all of that. You just lose a lot. And then also, you don't get to convict this guy, right? You don't get justice in the sense that a jury of his peers finds him guilty. There's got to be a little sadness in that part too. Now, some people might say, well, he's dead. I'm good with that. But I would say by and large, most families probably don't think that way. They want to see actual justice, not the perpetrator ending their life before they have to face it.
Yeah, they should be able to face the people that they caused harm to.
The medical examiner later concluded that Kacie had likely been unconscious from the time she was abducted until she was killed. Fuller had been in the storage unit since the night before. Throughout the day, he turned on the van to warm himself. He listened to radio reports, and he knew the police were after him. The security box at the facility indicated Fuller arrived at 10:15 p.m. on December 3rd, which meant he had driven directly there. After abducting Kacie, he left on foot around 7:30 a.m. the following morning to buy water and cigarettes at a nearby convenience store. He was gone for just 21 minutes. And my thought is, he can't risk taking the van out because they're looking for the van.
Right, yeah, he can only go out on foot at this point.
Detectives were unsure of Kacie's exact time of death. In the aftermath, authorities heavily investigated Fuller's background. He grew up in Salt Lake City and was raised in the LDS church. After high school graduation, he played guitar in rock bands and was no longer interested in church. He got married at 19, but the marriage fell apart.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why customers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Support for this podcast comes from Progressive, America's #1 motorcycle insurer. Did you know riders who switch and save with Progressive save nearly $200 per year? That's a whole new pair of riding gloves and more. Quote today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $197 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between October 2024 and September 2025. Potential savings will vary.
In the early 80s, a bandmate's girlfriend introduced him to her sister, Sally. Sally had also married and divorced young. She was ready to settle down and have kids. Sally and Dave got married in 1983 and moved to Salt Lake City. Sally worked as a commercial artist for an ad agency. Dave was a tow truck driver. In 1989, Dave joined the Navy Seabees. They moved around the country, over the next several years and had 2 children. They later settled in La Mesa, California, and Dave got a job at a car dealership. Okay. I mean, it all sounds pretty normal to me.
It does on the outside.
But by May of 2001, Sally was deeply unhappy and she wanted out of the marriage. In their early years together, Sally and Dave did a lot of social drinking, which mellowed Dave out. When he stopped drinking so often, his temper became unpredictable. Dave would brood. He would explode. Sally was afraid to dig into his past to see what triggered him. He always told her, I don't want to go there. Everything was fine. I had a good childhood. During their marriage, Dave was arrested for exposing himself to 2 young girls. He told Sally that he just stopped to ask them for directions and they ran off screaming. But he never tried to defend himself in court. He skipped his court date and paid a fine for indecent exposure.
That's because he probably pulled you know what out, and that's why they ran.
Yeah, but what's he going to tell his wife? No, I didn't do that. I just stopped to ask for directions. Also, why are you asking 2 young girls for directions?
Exactly.
That seems strange. Sally noticed that Dave was secretive and spent hours on the computer. He walked alone in the neighborhood at night so he could talk on his cell phone. But at a certain point, Sally no longer asked questions. But I do want to talk about one thing before we get too far away from it. You know, it's interesting that it was said that, drinking kind of mellowed Dave out. But when he wasn't drinking, that's when his temper became unpredictable. Because I think for a lot of people, it's the other way around. When they drink is when maybe their temper can get out of control.
But in his case, it's the opposite.
Yeah, I thought that was a little strange, but maybe it's not strange. Maybe it's normal for some people.
Maybe when he's not drinking, he's thinking clearer thoughts, and those thoughts are not good.
You could have hit on something there. And then the other thing is, at a certain point, Sally's not asking any questions. Well, she's not getting any answers, and she's also deeply unhappy. She wants out of the marriage. So does she stop kind of caring, right? At a certain point, yeah, if you're going to go off and do your own thing, I'm just going to stop asking you about it.
And maybe she's glad he's going out walking around instead of being at the house, being grumpy around her or yelling at her or whatever.
That could be absolutely true. In June 2012, Dave took the kids to visit his parents. He and Sally got into an argument, and he brought up divorce. While they were gone, she attended a divorce workshop. And when he returned, she had done everything but file. She thought Dave would be happy, but he was furious. Still, Sally was done with the marriage. She filed for divorce in July. Well, if you don't want to get a divorce, don't bring up getting a divorce during an argument. Because if the other person has been thinking about it, man, you are just opening up the door.
Oh, yeah.
It's like I tell my wife, my next wife is not going to treat me like this.
And that goes over very well, I'm sure.
I usually do it in front of you just because I know she's not going to come after me with you here.
Yeah.
I don't do it when we're by ourselves.
That's smart.
Because I don't want to face the wrath.
Because you would.
And she knows I'm kidding, but she, for some reason, still doesn't like it.
Well, that's just one thing you don't tease about.
You would think after 30 years of marriage, she would know my sense of humor.
Yeah, I still can't get your sense of humor either, so I don't know.
Yeah, not many people can. In August of that year, CPS investigated a report that Dave was taking showers with his 7-year-old daughter. The agency got involved when Sally started asking questions. Investigators ultimately concluded nothing happened, but Sally was uneasy. And frankly, I'm uneasy with it too. I get it. Parents might take showers with their kids when they're very, very little. Now, I would think most of the time it's dads and sons, moms and daughters. But by 7 years old, Gibbs, I don't think a dad should be taking a shower with his daughter.
No, at that time, there's no reason to be doing scrub-a-dub-dub. however the rest of it goes.
Now, if you want to sit next to the tub and help them or whatever, but being in the shower together, first of all, there's not a lot of room. There's no coverage of any body part.
Yeah.
So to me, that's a no-go.
He's a grown man. He should not be naked in the shower with his kids.
Oh, absolutely. Dave moved into an apartment, but one night he showed up at the house and demanded Sally let him in. She refused, and he pushed her aside and barged in. They argued, and Sally locked herself in the bedroom with the kids. Dave used a screwdriver to pry open the door. Sally called the police, and Dave was arrested for spousal abuse. Then Dave lost his job. His bosses cited a lack of productivity for his firing, but they suspected Dave was visiting pornography sites on company computers.
Well, you're on those porn sites, man. Time's going to get away from you, and clearly he was not being productive the way they wanted him to be productive.
Well, and time getting away from you means it makes it harder to be productive.
Yeah.
But let's talk about, the 2000s, right? Today, in most companies, you can't even sniff those types of websites.
No.
There's filters, there's blocks, there's all this stuff. But in 2000, it was a little bit more wild, wild west-like.
Very true.
I remember, what was it, 2002, 2003, when you started rexwest.com. I mean, it really was a free-for-all, no rules type of thing, and it was good for you.
It was a few good years there, before they came in and started blocking some of that stuff.
And then the IRS came a-knocking, and it all went downhill.
It did. It tumbled quickly.
You didn't report all those donations you were getting?
Well, there was some law was a little gray.
Sally and Dave sold their house in September. She hoped the divorce would be finalized by the end of 2002. Dave called his mother on December 3rd of that year. During their conversation, he seemed fine, and he mentioned that Sally was in Utah visiting family. He asked if Sally brought the kids over to see her. Dave then became emotional. He told his mom he loved her, something he never said first, and then he hung up. And neighbors noticed that Dave left his home shortly before December 3rd without giving a reason or a destination. And I think you have to look at Dave's life at this point in time. It is spiraling downward very quickly.
Very unstable.
Right? His marriage is falling apart. He's lost his job. The divorce is finalized. Let's not forget, he was caught for indecent exposure.
Yeah.
And he was on the computer at all hours. We can only surmise that during that period of time, he was in these chat rooms.
Yeah, I think either in these chat rooms or, getting his porn addiction time in.
FBI agents in California searched Fuller's apartment, and they found framed photos of Kacie near his computer. He also had a photo of Kacie's friend Samantha and a picture of one of her other friends. His Yahoo buddy list included the names of multiple Greenbrier kids. Investigators learned that Fuller had been in chat rooms for at least 2 years and was targeting 3 other girls about Kacie's age. The first girl lived in Michigan. She met Dave online in 2000. They talked every day. He was always a gentleman, and they talked about things like school, friends, and family. He asked for her number, but she said no, and she refused his offers to fly her out to California. Dave never learned her real name.
Scary when you think about it. He's going to keep trying until someone bites.
Well, this is the act of grooming, right? Sometimes it can be a long process to get someone's guard down. The other thing that I find very interesting is it's not like he's focused on one person. He's casting a wide net.
Yeah.
He's going after a bunch of girls in this age range, almost to me, Gibbs, seeming like he's waiting for someone to take the bait and let their guard down.
Yeah, I think he's testing them to see if there's a possibility that he can have them eventually come to him somehow. Like you said, by grooming them over time.
Yeah, no doubt it's grooming. Now, I don't know if we called it grooming in 2000, 2001. We certainly do today, and we know a lot more about it. The second girl lived in Dallas. She met him online in March 2001. She had never given him her address. But in March 2002, flowers from Dave showed up at her house. Her father was angry, and that was the end of her correspondence.
That dad probably ripped that computer out of the wall.
Yeah, maybe. A third girl lived in Pennsylvania. After making sure she was safe, agents didn't press for more details. Fuller's DNA was not linked to any other crimes in the national database. Investigators learned that Fuller made his first trip to Arkansas. On October 11, 2002, he flew into Little Rock, rented a car, and drove to Conway. No one is sure what he did during this trip, but police believe he spied on Kacie and watched her home. On October 15, 2002, he sent an email to Alltel Communications. I'm planning an extended trip to Arkansas, and the ISP I'm using doesn't have a local dial-up number there. Are you an actual ISP? And if so, how do I get software and set up an account to use your service? On November 2nd, Fuller bought a gun. On the 4th, he returned to Arkansas, again renting a car and driving to Conway. 2 days later, he rented a unit at GuardSmart storage facility. He told one of the on-site managers that he traveled the country, buying cars, and needed a place to temporarily store vehicles. On November 8th, he extended his stay at a motel. Authorities suspected that he planned to abduct Kacie during this trip, but something stopped him. When he returned to California, he purchased chain, duct tape, and zip ties from his local Home Depot. He got chloroform from a chemical supply company. I didn't know it was that easy to get chloroform.
Thinking back then it was. I don't know if it is today.
I hope it's not. I don't know what all the legal uses for chloroform are, but I would assume that 90 whatever % of the population really doesn't need access to chloroform.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. And no, if you find some, we cannot do a test with it to see how I respond.
Oh my gosh, that would be awesome on Patreon though. Just think about it. It'd be like the horrible bosses scene when Jennifer Aniston puts him out.
Oh,
I would take all kinds of weird pictures.
Oh yeah. I'd wake up hours later not knowing anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, Gibbs. Police believe Kacie was the quote unquote perfect victim because she was trusting and she gave Fuller her real name, address, phone number, and photos of herself. He gained her trust and sympathy with the fake story about his aunt. And we said it earlier on, I think she even gave him photos of some of her friends. In 2003, Fuller's ex-wife Sally spoke to the Arkansas Democrat Gazette and said she now recognized the red flags she missed. Dave's late nights wandering the neighborhood, his anger when she suggested moving the computer out of his bedroom, his insistence on separate internet passwords and emails, and the framed photo of a young girl in his apartment.
Well, that should have been a pretty quick red flag, right?
I would think so, but, they're broken up by that point.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Now, I think today it's pretty common for people to have separate emails, separate passwords.
Yeah.
But things were a little different back in the days of dial-up. I think most people just had one service.
Yeah, called American Online, AOL.
Yeah, I think it was America Online, not American Online. But yeah, you're correct. You remember they would send you like 5 CDs a week.
Oh, I know.
Trying to get you to sign up. I mean, every day you walked out to the mailbox, there was another CD.
You're like, leave me alone, man.
I already have AOL. Stop sending me CDs.
Yeah, quit sending those to me. I'm going to sign up with CompuServe.
Sally said about her reaction to his arrest, I was not as surprised as I could have been because of how I saw him deteriorate. I guess I had this feeling he's going to crash. He's just going to crash. And maybe she just didn't know exactly how he was going to crash.
Yeah.
But she felt like, it wasn't going to be good, but I'm sure she had no idea it was going to be this bad.
I wouldn't think so. She probably just saw somebody spiraling out of control and wanted to stay clear.
Kacie's father, Rick Woody, allowed federal and state authorities to share Kacie's story in a nationwide effort to train law enforcement and educate parents. He told the Democrat Gazette, "I can't let this be meaningless. I've got to make it do somebody some good."
I mean, that's great because maybe by doing that, you save another girl's life.
And in a way, Kacie saves another girl's life.
Yes.
Right? If you're the family, I think a lot of the families, that's how they look at it. If we do something in her name, it's like her spirit carries on and she's still doing good things.
Yeah, because there's girls out there doing the same thing she was doing, thinking, I'm not worried. Nothing's going to happen to me. I know my parents are all being weird about it. And then they hear this story and they're like, yeah, I'm going to shut this down now.
Because this can happen.
Yeah.
According to THV 11, it was the first time in Arkansas history that police encountered internet stalking of a minor to such an extent. Former Faulkner County Sheriff Marty Montgomery recalled, "We didn't have the resources at that point in time to hire a specialist to do computer crimes because it was new. It was something that our case kind of kicked the door down."
Man, think about today with computer forensics.
Yeah, and cybercrime departments. Some places have whole squads of people, devoted to cybercrime. Kacie's friends Samantha Davis and Jessica Bradford continue to share Kacie's story to keep others safe. Samantha told THV 11, "There was no education for us, and there's a lot of education out there now. It's not just a story because guess what? It happened right here. It happened to my friend. It happened to me." Jessica added, "Parents really just need to be in-depth and nosy. Their kids are going to hate it, but know the passwords and know your kids as friends, because I always think if Kacie's dad hadn't known Kacie's friends, the investigation would have stalled out somewhere." And, as we wrap this one up, Gibbs, it's a tragic case, but it is also one of those cases that I'm sure led to a lot of talks between parents and kids. I'm sure a lot of kids also, like you just said, maybe lost that, it'll never happen to me feeling.
Right.
And started to make sure that they safeguarded their information online a little bit more. But it is a fine line, right? About being too nosy, not being nosy enough. But for me, if I got to err on the side of caution, I'm going nosy.
Same here. Yep. Got to protect your kids.
And maybe one day they'll appreciate it. It won't be right then and there. I can tell you that.
Oh, of course not. No, you'll be the worst parent ever.
Yeah. But maybe later on. But that's it for our episode on Kacie Woody. We got a voicemail. You want to check that out?
Let's hear it.
Hey, Mike and Gibby. This is Al from Massachusetts, the Adams, Massachusetts area. And I am rehashing the True Crime All the Time Unsolved podcast and listened again to the Molly Bish episode. And I have a dear friend that lives in Massachusetts who her sister had been murdered. Lisa Ziegert. You should check out that crime and the amazing way that it had been solved after so many years, and the love that the family had for their daughter and sister, and how they would never let it rest, and how a lot of the local people, some of them were suspects for years and could not get out from under that shadow. But anyway, You guys are great. I'm not Team Gibby. I'm not Team Mike. I'm Team True Crime. You guys are one of the best podcasts on social media. Love you guys. Talk to you soon. Bye.
All right. Love you too, brother. And appreciate all the kudos. It really means a lot.
Absolutely, man. I'd like to hear that.
Yeah. And also that case does sound fascinating. So we're going to write it down and we'll check it out.
Yeah.
We had some mailbag, Gibbs.
Okay.
Lori Quattriocci sent us in some Harley poker chips. And Charles Thompson sent a big old package all the way from Scotland.
All right.
There's some football stuff in there.
Yeah.
Some flags, some candy, some Scottish drinks, I think.
And
chocolates. There's a lot.
Right up your alley, you Scottish person, you.
I know. As I always say, if it's not Scottish, it's crop. All right, buddy. That is it for another episode of True Crime All the Time. So for Mike
and Gibby,
stay safe and keep your own time ticking.
Why does Progressive work hard for truckers? Because truckers unite the world. They unite kids with their first drum sets and parents with earplugs. But truckers can't do this if they're not on the road. That's why Progressive has over 360 heavy truck employees to help truckers stay on time and on track. Quote truck insurance today in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.